The stars were cold and silent around the small ship floating near a dying moon. Inside, everything was quiet, except for the soft breathing of a young alien girl named Alira. She sat alone in a dark corner, knees pulled to her chest, her big blue eyes staring at the floor. She had heard the last words her mother said before leaving. "We can't take her with us. She's too weak. She'll slow us down." Alira wasn't strong like the others in her family. Her people were warriors, proud and powerful. She was different, small, quiet, and sick since birth. Her father never spoke to her, and her brothers only laughed at her. But her mother had once held her close, had once whispered, "You are special, Alira." Now they were gone. The family ship had launched into the stars, leaving her behind like forgotten trash. They left food for one day and half a tank of oxygen. It was clear they didn't expect her to survive. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe they believed this was kinder than watching her suffer. Alira pressed her hand against the cold glass window. She watched the stars blink far away. She wanted to scream, but her voice felt too small. Her heart beat slow, and her body felt cold. She was tired, so tired. Maybe it was better to sleep and never wake up again. But then a flash, a strange light appeared in the darkness, not from her family's ship. It was something else. Another ship, larger and shaped differently. Its engines glowed orange and white. And it came closer. She sat up, confused and afraid. No one should be here. This was an abandoned zone. The ship stopped nearby, and a small pod detached, floating toward her airlock. She crawled to the control panel, her hands shaking. She had just enough strength to press the emergency beacon. A few moments later, the door opened. A tall figure in a dark suit stepped in, helmet covering the face. Alira tried to back away, but she was too weak. The figure looked at her, then spoke. His voice was calm and warm. "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help." The voice came from a human. His name was Captain James Carter, leader of a deep space rescue crew. He had received a strange signal weak, almost hidden, but something made him follow it. He didn't know why. Maybe he was curious. Maybe he still believed in saving people, even when others didn't. He looked at the small alien girl, her skin pale, her eyes glowing faint blue. She didn't speak, just stared. But there was something in her eyes, something broken, something lost. James gently lifted her in his arms. "She's just a child," he whispered. His crew warned him over the comms. She might be dangerous. She could be bait. But James didn't listen. He brought her back to his ship, laid her gently on a medical bed. The crew gathered, unsure what to say. "Is she alive?" someone asked. "Barely," James replied, watching as the machine scanned her. Her oxygen was almost gone. She would have died in minutes. Hours passed. Alira finally opened her eyes. Blinking at the bright lights, she looked around at the human faces, strange and different from hers. She didn't understand their language, but she understood one thing: she was alive. James smiled and sat beside her, holding out a water bottle. "Here, drink. You're safe now." Alira took the bottle slowly, her fingers still trembling. She sipped, then looked at him. "Why?" she asked, her voice thin and soft. James looked surprised. "You speak English?" "A little," she replied, her voice cracking. "Why, save me?" James thought for a moment, then said, "Because someone should." The words hung in the air like a promise. Alira looked at him, eyes full of questions. No one had ever saved her. No one had ever stayed. Now a human had done what her own people wouldn't. He gave her food, shelter, safety. He gave her a second chance, but far away, in the deep dark of space. Another signal was sent. A message traveled to places unknown. "She's alive," it said. "And she's with the humans." Someone was watching. Someone was coming. And Alira's story was only beginning. The first thing Alira noticed was the silence, not the cold, empty silence of space, but a soft, warm one, like the quiet of a safe place where no one was yelling, no one was leaving. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the white lights above her, the bed she lay on. was soft and strange. The walls around her were smooth and silver. Blinking with small lights, machines beeped quietly, watching her, measuring her. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like metal and medicine. She wasn't dead. She wasn't alone in that broken ship anymore. She had survived. Then she heard voices, low, calm human voices, speaking in a language she barely understood. Her ears picked up one word over and over again. Alien. Alien girl. She's awake. Captain James Carter stepped into the room. Hands by his sides, helmet off, face kind. He smiled, not the fake smile she was used to, but something real. You're safe here, he said softly. Alira sat up slowly, her body still weak, her eyes alert. She didn't speak, only stared, trying to decide if this was another test. Her people had tested her many times, then punished her for failing. James didn't rush. He placed a small tray beside her water. Fruits, something warm in a bowl. She looked at it with suspicion. He took a bite from the same food, showed her it wasn't poison. Only then did she take a bite, her hands shaking with hunger. The crew watched her from behind a glass wall. Some whispered to each other, "Why did the captain bring her here? She's not one of us. She could be dangerous." Only one crew member, a young engineer named Maya, spoke up. "She's just a kid," Maya said, crossing her arms. "She needs help." Later, James gave Alira a small tablet to hold. Images appeared: earth, people, animals, food, laughter. "This is where we come from," James said. She stared at the blue oceans. Green forests, giant cities full of light. It looked like a dream. Then James showed her a map of space. He pointed to her home world marked with a red warning sign. "Your people left you," he said, voice calm but firm. "But we won't." Alira looked at him, and for the first time in her life, she believed someone meant it. Over the next few days, she walked around the ship slowly. The halls were narrow, filled with blinking machines and curious eyes. Maya gave her a bracelet that translated human language into her own. "I made it for you," she said, smiling. Alira wore it like armor. She watched the humans work. Talk, laugh, fight, forgive. They were loud, strange, emotional, but also kind. Not perfect, but trying. Still, not everyone welcomed her. A tall pilot named Reed whispered to others, "We're risking everything for that girl. If command finds out, we're done." Alira heard them, but stayed silent. She spent time in the ship's garden room, where earth plants grew in glowing soil. She touched leaves gently, felt water run over her fingers. This was new, this was life, but not all peace lasts. One night, while alone, Alira heard a noise. A small panel in the wall buzzed and blinked. Curious, she touched it, and it opened. A secret message played in a soft, whispering voice. "Target is alive," it said. "Confirm signal alien subject on human vessel. Prepare for retrieval." Alira froze. Someone out there was looking for her, and they were not coming to rescue her. She backed away, her heart pounding. She thought she was safe, she thought. She had escaped, but now, danger had found her again, and this time, it wasn't just her life at risk, it was the crew's too. The humans gave her a second chance. Now she had to decide, would she run again, or fight to protect the only people? Whoever stayed. The ship felt colder now, not because of the temperature, but because of the secret Alira had discovered. Someone out there was watching her. Someone wanted her back, not to save her, but to use her. She didn't tell anyone yet, not even James. She needed to be sure. She needed to understand why. In the quiet hours of the night cycle, she sat in the ship's lab, staring at her own blood under a scanner. Maya had left the scanner running after checking Alira's health. Curious, Alira touched the screen and saw something strange. Her blood didn't look like normal alien cells. It pulsed with light, tiny energy lines flowing through each drop. The machine beeped, red letters appeared. Genetic signature detected. Class V catalyst unauthorized. She didn't know what that meant, but the computer knew, and someone else might know too. The next morning, James found her sitting there, still staring at the screen. He read the data, and his eyes widened. This can't be right, he whispered. Alira looked at him with quiet fear. What's wrong? With me? She asked. James shook his head slowly. There's nothing wrong, he said. But there's something special. James explained that deep in space research, there were rumors some species had evolved to hold certain rare codes in their DNA. These codes could interact with energy in ways others couldn't, open hidden gates, activate lost technology, even bend the rules of space travel. Alira's blood carried one of those codes, a living key, one that could open wormholes. That's why they left me, she whispered. James paused, confused. My family, she said, eyes dark with memory. They knew I had this. They knew others would come for me. They were afraid, not of me, but of the danger I bring. James stood still, thinking hard. If others find out, they'll want to capture you, study you, maybe worse. You're not a weapon, he said firmly. But to them, you'll look like one. At that moment, alarms screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed across the hallway walls. The voice of Reed, the pilot, echoed through the comms. Captain, unknown ship approaching fast. James ran to the bridge with Alira right behind him. The radar showed a black ship, smooth and silent, sliding through the stars like a predator. No ID, no signal, but it was coming straight for them. Alira's hands shook. They found me, she whispered. I didn't tell anyone, I swear. James nodded. I believe you, he said, but now we protect you. Reed wasn't so calm. This is what I warned you about, Captain, he growled. She's not one of us. And now we're all in danger. James turned to him sharply. She's part of this crew now, he said. We don't leave our own behind. Alira looked around at all the human faces, some filled with fear, some with anger, some with care. She had brought trouble, but for the first time, she didn't want to run. She wanted to stay and fight. The enemy ship stopped just beyond laser range. Then it sent a message, not in words but in pure signal. A code that only Alira's mind could understand. It said, return the key, or we take the ship. Alira stood frozen. She could give herself up, maybe save the crew, or stay and risk their lives, but James walked beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll find another way, he said. We always do. Somewhere inside her, something unlocked, not just fear, but power. Her body warmed. Her heartbeat matched the pulse of the ship, and in her mind, she could feel the other ship watching. She could feel its scanners, its weapons, its engines. She didn't know how, but she could sense everything. And for the first time, she wasn't helpless. She was connected. Awake, the crew didn't know yet, but the girl they had rescued was no longer just a child. She was something new, something they didn't fully understand, and the ones who came for her had no idea what they were walking into. Asterisk, the stars had never looked so sharp. Every light outside the window felt like a threat. The enemy ship didn't fire, it didn't speak, it just waited, like a beast watching its prey breathe. Inside the human vessel Orion, the crew moved fast. James barked orders from the command chair. Shields up, engines hot, prepare for evasive movement. The enemy ship had no ID, no signal, no name. That was the scariest part. It didn't want to talk. It only wanted one thing, Alira. She stood on the bridge, small and quiet, but her mind was full of noise. She could feel the other ships. Scanners touching her, cold, searching, hungry. She closed her eyes and saw pieces of code flash behind her eyelids. It wasn't just a ship, it was a hunter. Maya grabbed Alira's hand. You okay? She whispered. Alira nodded, even though she wasn't sure. Something inside her was changing, faster than before. Let's move, James said. The Orion's engines roared to life, spinning the ship into a wide turn. But as they tried to slip away, the enemy ship followed without delay. Smooth, fast, silent, too fast. Sir, we won't outrun them, Reed called from the controls. They're matching our speed exactly. Try the asteroid belt, James replied. It's Thick, they won't be able to track us clearly. The Orion dove toward a storm of shattered rock and space dust. Giant asteroids spun like frozen giants, blocking radar and signals. Inside the chaos, the crew held their breath. Metal groaned, shields sparked. One wrong move and they'd be space dust. Elira stood still, her eyes glowing faint blue. She reached out, not with her hands, but with her mind. She began to feel the asteroid field, the gravity shifts, the path of each rock. Like a map was being drawn inside her brain. "This way," she said quietly. James looked at her. Unsure, but he nodded. "Follow her path," Reed stared, confused. "She's not trained." "She doesn't need training," James replied. "She's seeing something we can't." Guided by Elira's quiet directions, the ship slipped. Between spinning stones, the enemy ship followed, too fast, too direct. It clipped a massive rock and lost speed. "Nice," Maya grinned. "We bought time, but the relief didn't last long." A loud beep echoed from the lower deck. An emergency signal. Someone had opened a come line to the enemy ship. James turned cold. Someone on board is feeding them. The room fell silent. Eyes turned to each other. Who would betray them? Who would risk the crew to trade Elira away? Suddenly, Elira's voice cut through. "There," she pointed at the communication panel near the engine bay. "It's still active." They ran down the hall, James and Maya leading the way. There, standing by the panel, was crewman Vex, his hands shaking, his eyes wide. "They offered me a way home," he said. "They said I could leave. They promised safety." James stared at him with disbelief. "You risked all our lives for a promise?" "They want her," Vex said, pointing at Elira like she was a monster. "She's not one of us. She's a curse." Elira stepped forward, her voice quiet but firm. "You're wrong," she said. "I'm not a curse. I'm the reason you're still alive." Vex reached for his weapon, but before he could touch it, the lights pulsed. Elira's eyes glowed brighter. The room shook slightly, and the weapon flew from Vex's belt across the hall. Silence followed, heavy and shocked. James took Vex into custody. The crew now looked at Elira with new eyes, some with fear, some with awe. She had done something impossible, and it wasn't just a trick, it was control. Real power, but Elira wasn't smiling. She sat alone in her room later, thinking deeply. She didn't want to hurt anyone. She didn't want to be feared. Maya came to her quietly, bringing food. "You saved us," she said. "You did good." But Elira looked up with serious eyes. "They're not finished," she whispered. "They'll come again, and next time they'll send more than one ship." Outside, in the shadows of space, another signal was already moving. A silent call for war. The girl who had once been left behind was now the center of something far bigger, and it had only just begun. The stars no longer scared her. They used to feel cold, like tiny eyes watching her from the dark. But now, Elira looked at them and felt something new, strength. She stood at the window of the Orion. Her reflection was not the same girl who was once left behind. Not the weak burden her family had thrown away. She was changing, not just on the outside, inside. Her thoughts were sharper. She could sense energy, feel danger before it arrived. She could even hear the hum of the ship's engines in her bones. She wasn't sure if that made her more alien or more human, but one thing was clear. She was no longer afraid. The crew felt it too. Maya smiled at her more often. James trusted her with small decisions. Even Reed, once cold and doubtful, gave her a nod of respect. She had earned something rare, belonging. That morning, the Orion floated near a fuel station in a hidden zone. The crew moved quickly, refueling and repairing damage from the chase. But something felt off. Elira could feel it before anyone else. A ripple in the air, a wrong vibration. She turned sharply, eyes narrowing. Someone was watching them again. She ran to the bridge and reached for James. "We have to leave," she said. "They're here." James didn't question her this time. He believed her. "Reed, pull us out now," he ordered. But it was too late. A shadow passed over the window. A massive warship blocked their exit, twice the size of Orion, covered in dark metal and sharp lights. It sent a signal: surrender the subject or be destroyed. Crew looked to James, he looked to Alira. She shook her head. No more running, she said. I can do this. What do you mean? Maya asked. Alira closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The hum of the ship grew louder in her mind. The energy around her danced, waiting for her command. I can link with the ship, she whispered. I don't know how I know, I just do. James hesitated. It could kill you, he said. Alira opened her eyes, glowing with calm power. I've been dying my whole life, she said softly. Let me live for something. They set her up in the engine core. Wires, light, panels, and sensors surrounded her. She stepped inside the core chamber, took a deep breath, and touched the control crystal. Suddenly, the entire ship lit up. Lights blinked faster. The engines pulsed brighter. She's connected, Maya said, eyes wide. Outside, the warship prepared to fire, but the Orion moved like never before. Faster than its own design, smarter, as if Alira's mind was guiding it. She dodged the first laser, then the second. Then she fired back, not to destroy but to disable. She hit the enemy ship's power lines, their shield generator, their engines, clean. Focus strikes, inside. The crew watched in awe as Alira controlled the Orion like it was part of her. Is she flying the ship? Reed whispered. No, James said. She is the ship. When the enemy ship went dark, floating helplessly in space, Alira released the connection and collapsed, breathing hard. Maya and James rushed in and caught her. Before she fell, she was shaking, but smiling. I did it, she whispered. I protected my crew. James looked at her with quiet pride. You're not a burden, he said. You're our strength. Later, the crew gathered in the common room, for the first time. They didn't see her as alien. They saw her as one of them, strange. Yes, different, yes, but family. Alira sat among them, quiet but full. This was what she had dreamed of, not just survival belonging, but just as things felt safe. Another alert flashed across the screen, a new message, this time encrypted. Maya worked fast to unlock it. When it opened, Alira's face turned pale. It was a voice she never thought she'd hear again. Her mother. You've changed, Alira. The voice said, Come home. The room went silent. James looked at her, unsure. Alira stood slowly, eyes locked on the screen. I don't know if I have a home anymore, she said. But maybe it's time to find out. Asterisk. The stars were silent again, but this time, the silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, like the breath you hold just before a storm begins. Alira stood in the center of the bridge. The message still echoed in her mind. Her mother's voice, soft, careful, and full of things left unsaid. You've changed, Alira. Come home. Home, that word used to mean warmth, safety, love, but for her, it meant the cold floor of a lonely ship. It meant being too quiet, too weak, too strange. It meant being left behind. She didn't reply. At first, not out of fear, but because she didn't know if she wanted to hear more. James, standing at her side, broke the silence. We can block the signal, he said. You don't owe them anything. Alira looked at him slowly. I don't owe them, she said. But I need to see them, not for them, for me. So they followed the signal. It led to a moon orbiting a red gas giant, not a trap, not a base, just a place for talking, neutral ground. As the Orion landed, Alira's hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from something worse, memory. She remembered the sound of the airlock closing, the final look in her mother's eyes. The silence after they left. Now the same airlock opened again, and waiting outside stood her family, her mother, taller and older, eyes lined with sadness, her father still stiff, still silent, her two brothers, standing like guards, but none of them moved, none of them smiled. Alira stepped forward, not the small child they once knew, but taller, stronger, glowing slightly. With the light that now lived inside her, Maya walked beside her. James stayed close. But this was her moment. Her mother spoke first. "You've grown," she said. Alira didn't answer. "You've done things. Things we never imagined," her mother continued. "You're important now." Alira looked into her eyes and asked one question. "Would you still have come if I wasn't?" The silence that followed was worse than any lie. Her mother looked down. "We were afraid," she said. "The code in your blood. It made you a target, we thought. Leaving you would keep you safe. You left me to die," Alira said, her voice clear but calm. Her brothers shifted uncomfortably. Her father still said nothing. "We were wrong," her mother whispered. "But we want to fix it. Come back, Alira. Your people need you." "My people?" Alira repeated. She turned slightly, looking at Maya and James, then back at the ones who shared her blood. "You mean you need me? Not for love, for power." Her father finally spoke. "You don't understand your role," he said. "You could lead our race into the next age." Alira's eyes glowed brighter. "I'm already leading someone," she replied, but not with fear, not with silence. Her mother stepped forward. "Please, at least think about it." "I have thought about it," Alira said. "Every day you left me behind. Every breath I took alone. Every nightmare where I begged to be seen." She stepped closer. "I don't need to be your weapon. I don't need to be your daughter either." Her family stared at her silent, cold, not angry, not even sorry. Then she turned to James. "Let's go," she said. Her mother's voice came one last time. "If you leave now, there's no coming back." Alira didn't stop walking. "I already left," she said. As the Orion lifted from the moon's surface, Maya held Alira's hand quietly. No words were needed. James looked at her from the captain's chair. "Whatever you need, wherever you want to go, we go together," he said. Alira smiled for the first time in days. She had faced the ones who abandoned her, and she hadn't broken. She had chosen her own family now. Not the one written in blood, but the one built in trust. And as they flew into the stars once again, something shifted in the galaxy. The girl once thrown away had just closed a door behind her and opened a much bigger one ahead. The stars no longer felt like strangers. They now felt like open roads, each one a choice, a path, a chance. Alira stood at the front of the Orion, her hand resting lightly on the glass. She had closed one chapter, walked away from the family who left her. But a new question waited ahead. What would she do now? James had given her a home. Maya had given her trust. The crew had given her a place. But the galaxy had given her a voice strong enough to echo across worlds. A signal came through, quiet and urgent. An Earth science colony on the edge of human space was under attack. Not by warships or pirates, but by an unstable wormhole, Alira's eyes widened. She could feel it. A ripple in space. Broken, wild, dangerous. James turned to her. "This is your call," he said. "We don't have to go." She looked at him and shook her head. "Yes, we do." The Orion jumped into the edge of the wormhole's reach. The sky twisted, colors bent, time flickered. The colony's distress beacon screamed through the void. "We're losing gravity control. Energy cores are failing. Evacuation impossible." The crew stared at the chaos, unsure what to do. No weapon could stop a wormhole. No human tech could control one. But Alira could. She stepped into the core room again. "Stronger this time, ready. I was made for this," she said. Her hands touched the ship's core, and the Orion answered her instantly. Her body lit up with energy. Her mind opened wide. She reached out through space, through time, and found the heart of the storm. The wormhole was alive. It wasn't evil, just broken. She spoke to it, not in words, but with her presence. Calm, steady, guiding. The ship became part of her. She bent the laws of space like a musician tuning a string. The storm slowed. The spiral shrank. One by one, the colony's systems came back online. Maya called out from the bridge. "We're stabilizing. It's working." James watched the readings in disbelief. "She's doing what no one ever could," he whispered. She's rewriting physics. And then silence. The wormhole closed clean. Balanced, safe, Alira dropped to her knees, exhausted, glowing softly. The crew ran to her, caught her before she fell. She opened her eyes and smiled weakly. Did we save them? You saved everyone, James said. Word of what happened spread quickly. An alien girl who tamed a wormhole. A ship that danced through chaos. A crew that believed in someone others had thrown away. Alira became a symbol, not of fear, not of power, but of hope. She was offered titles, roles, praise from both human and alien leaders. But she chose something else. She asked for one small base on the edge of space. A place where alien children like her could grow, learn, belong. A place where no one would ever be called a burden again. James retired from command and stayed on as her advisor. Maya became the head of tech and taught the next generation. And Alira led them all, not with orders, but with stories. Stories of stars, of pain and healing, of loss and second chances. Children gathered around her at night, and she would say, I was left behind once, but someone saw me. Someone gave me a chance, and in that moment, they understood. Sometimes the most powerful people are the ones no one believed in. The girl who was once abandoned had become the heart of two worlds, not because of what she could do, but because of who she chose to be, and that was the real power. All along,